Whether you're a first-time founder or a serial entrepreneur, building a startup is hard. Getting seen is even harder. Every single founder that I've worked with thinks that the hardest part is the technology. But if nobody can find you on Google, then you might as well be coding out of a cave. My name is Morgan Von Druitt, and I've spent the past 10 years running marketing campaigns from bootstrap startups all the way through enterprise giants like Atlassian and Experian. I am currently advising for the largest startup in history with Klover.ai. I have been responsible for leading teams who have cumulatively earned upwards of $1.3 billion in revenue, and I am taking all of those lessons that I learned surviving the jungle that is corporate marketing and bringing them to you so you don't have to. Today, we're breaking down how to actually rank in a hypersaturated tech landscape where every single startup is just shouting into the void, and Google is a gatekeeper who seems to change the rules of admission with every update. This is not meant to be beginner SEO advice. This is meant to be tactical, high leverage stuff that we use with the AI startups in our portfolio every single day, and I want you to be able to take advantage of as well. Most AI startups face a unique problem. They're treating SEO like it's 2012. They write a few blogs, they add in some keywords, maybe buy some backlinks, they have a litany of tools that they really don't need because they're forgetting the fundamentals, but then they wonder why they're stuck on page 7 with 3 to 4 clicks per blog and really no leads coming in from that content. Now, I want to use one of our clients, Klover.ai specifically, who has been absolutely kicking ass in the organic game, driving 15x more impressions to their site strictly using organic marketing. Now, Klover was doing cutting-edge decision intelligence well before I joined as an advisor, but they were ranking on generic AI keywords that weren't really moving the needle. We shifted the strategy to own the term or the category artificial general decision making, which directly juxtapose what you might have heard in terms of AGI or artificial general intelligence coming out of the rest of Silicon Valley. We use that to our advantage. Now, while they coined and pioneered that term, again, before I showed up, it was just sitting there on the shelf, not really being touched or utilized in as an SEO weapon. Suddenly, by making sure that every single piece of content that we had called out their proprietary AI model, artificial general decision making, we were able to create a category of one. We were able to control the narrative and everything that was going into that category. So whenever we talked about AGD in healthcare or in the supply chain, Google and of course the AI models like ChatGPT or Perplexity would pick us up as the de facto authority in that niche or in that industry. Again, because we were like an octopus in our content where we touched absolutely every sub piece of content in there by owning the category as a whole. We weren't AGI, we weren't trying to be AGI, we were trying to be AGD. What this did was it created an us versus them narrative around our trademark, AGD. And everybody was looking for some other place to look away from the looming threat of AGI, which promises to take over, our operations, our supply chain, and really just replace humanity in business as we know it. AGD came in as a human-centric model that captured the attention of our industry and gave an alternative to the bleak future that AGI is offering. Now, Klover uses a cocktail of proprietary human agent systems, we call this the Halo system, that helps streamline our results. So there's only so much I can share about what they're doing specifically with their agents, but I can talk about the high-level marketing tactics that we used to help them niche down and then help them rank first on Google. As mentioned earlier, the average in the industry, if we're talking about major multi-billion-dollar companies, is around position 30 for their average page ranking. If you look at a company like HubSpot, they're ranked between 11 and 13. So, even for a lead-focused platform, they're still not even breaking the top 10. What we're seeing with Klover is an average page ranking of 7. The key insight here is that we needed to stop chasing the AI term above all else, and we need to start owning our niche. Once you do that, you win. Broad keywords are a red ocean, but niche terms, that's blue ocean territory. Our keyword strategy came here in 2 parts. We wanted to hit the philosophical nail on the head and appeal to the technical users that were actually going to be implementing AI at major enterprises. So we wanted to serve the philosophical and idealistic, hey, this is AI for humanity, but we also needed to appeal to the people that were actually implementing this tech and would be using it every single day. It needed to make sense as the better model for them, both from a code perspective and from an ethical perspective. We wanted to separate ourselves from AGI, which is currently the boogeyman in the AI space in Silicon Valley, and start positioning ourselves as that more ethical alternative, putting us on this high ground and again creating a brand enemy. It just so happened that the brand enemy happens to be every single other company that is doing anything AI related in the space. Whereas AI is one side of the coin, we were the other untouched new frontier. As mentioned, artificial general decision making was a term that was coined before I synced with their team. It had some traction, but it wasn't bleeding into the rest of the industry and the rest of the market in ways that would really get them noticed by customers or enterprise customers that wanted to actually pay them. The marketing brain in me went absolutely wild, understanding that I was being given a term that absolutely nobody else was bidding on, writing about, or competing with. We've been able to utilize that blue ocean reality to exponentially grow our organic reach, again, by 15 times the amount in the last 28 days alone. So what did we do? We absolutely blitzed the market with use cases, case studies, research, proprietary research that we had coming out of our open source team and our brain trust. And we plugged in whenever we could the ethical differences between implementing a future with AGI versus the future of AGD, really painting the picture of what that reality would look like. Again, we started to gain traction through storytelling. The goal here was to become absolutely unavoidable. It worked. We did this all from organic, no ads, no paid sponsorships, no share for share or anything like this, just raw content. The important strategy here is that we wanted to do more than just show up in search. We wanted to show up everywhere. We wanted news outlets talking about us. We wanted, yes, to show up in search, but we also wanted to show up in the AI engines. We wanted Perplexity and ChatGPT to start talking about us and referring their users to our pages by becoming the de facto authority in the AI space. Instead of trying to rank for everything in an already crowded category of AGI, we decided to differentiate and rank for the category of AGD instead, which was a really important distinction. By utilizing things like Google Alerts, tracking our coin terms became incredibly easy, so whenever we were being picked up by a new news outlet or a new publication, or there was some new expert that said, hey, what is this AGD thing, we were able to get an alert for them or from them, and then go ahead and reach out to them to either get a guest spot on their blog, allow them to write on our blog, or just figure out what really enticed them to call us out. It's all about community building at this point. Now, through doing so, we were able to connect with loads of industry leaders. I'm talking about people that are professors at Carnegie Mellon University of AI. We're talking about two-time presidential appointees in cybersecurity, people who have built the supply chain for the globe, like for the world. It is ridiculous the amount of people that we're able to actually bring in just by, again, showing the world a different side of the coin that everybody was, crowding on. Piquing that level of curiosity was huge. Now, to relate this to how many startups founders would be is you're not just another CRM. You're not just another dashboard for marketing analytics. Find some way to tell a story that is different than any of your competitors. For instance, you can go by saying that you're building a marketing ecosystem, not a marketing analytics tool, and then follow through on that. Reimagine what can be possible through your software. Building a keyword strategy that doesn't suck is actually pretty hard, but here's some things that we did to fix it. Most startups will open up SEMrush or Ahrefs. They'll look up find AI automation or machine learning tools. They'll pick the ones with the most traffic, and then they'll pay them and pray that they're going to start getting some kind of traction. It doesn't really work. One of the biggest problems that I've faced, as I've gone from startup to enterprise is the amount of tools that are available, and the amount of tools managers are willing to pay for that don't really do what you think they do. More often than not, you end up finding senior managers saying, hey, yeah, just go on to this analytics, look at SEMrush, and just pick your top 10 hottest keywords, write a blog about those, go on with your day. We have other things to do. Content is always devalued. And I don't think that's the right move. I worked for an e-commerce platform, gosh, maybe about 10 years ago, and we had 5 employees that were making a little bit less than $3,000 a month each. So let's just round that up and say it costs the company 15 grand to source our 5 writers. And the team on the side of us, again, had 5 people that made probably twice our salary, and because they had the ad specialist note on them, or title. And our team of 5 writers were bringing in about $1.2 million in revenue strictly from organic, just writing product descriptions, categories, blogs, getting people found, getting our site found on Google, and then moving them through a funnel where they actually want to buy a product. Whereas the team on the side of us, again, pretty much double our salary. They also had an ad budget of about $600,000 per month, but were returning $1.8 million in revenue. And because that number was technically larger, our senior leadership gave them all the resources in the world. They had offsites, they had special trainings, they had more and more budget, could always get more hires. But when you actually looked at the return on value, what your ROAS would be, return on ad spend, or the return on our salaries, we exponentially blew them out of the water. And that's where, boom, my aha moment came. It was like, organic is what's going to win. Yes, if you have tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to spend money on ads, you can get that immediate gratification. But what you should be focused on in the early stage of your startup is building that value engine and having yourself be an authority in that niche or in that category. So with Klover, for instance, instead of focusing on highly competitive terms like AI productivity tools, we focused on high intent niche queries like enterprise AI agents at scale, AI decision-making applications, harnessing AI agents for scalable success, and even going for competitor terms like Google Gemini Enterprise AI, which we rank for. If you Google something like Google Gemini AGI, you'll see Klover come up on page 1, which absolutely drove them crazy. This worked for a few reasons. They're low competition, they're high intent, they're not really surface level discovery terms that somebody like an intern would be Googling. They're things that buyers, executives, and people that are actual decision makers in the company are looking for. So we delivered those terms, and then we delivered content that showed them that our AGD solution was scalable, agent-based, and ready for enterprise. We skipped all of that vanity volume, and we landed directly in the decision maker's path. The problem that a lot of startup founders do is they strictly focus on the top of funnel. This is effectively, if you're looking at it from an ICP, an ideal customer profile perspective, the top of funnel is mostly your interns or people that don't know jack all about what they actually want. They're just trying to get a gist of, insert term. If you're really trying to get revenue as quickly as possible, you want to be making bottom of funnel and middle of funnel content. Those people actually know what they're looking for. They're going to be the ones that are using the product, and they actually have the ones with the checkbook that are going to get you and the rest of your team paid, so you guys don't have to go back to corporate. A really great thing to do here, if you're trying to fluff out some of your content, would be to use the Google's People May Ask section and just go question by question and answer all of those in your H2s and H3s. So you can have your site title or your blog title, and then very next one, H2, question number 1, H3, question number 2, and then spend time on that, giving them 2 to 3 paragraphs in each section, fully, thoroughly answering everything. So if you type in something like enterprise AI agents, go ahead and answer all of the questions that you find on that page 1. If you want to dominate, then use content trees. Just like we mentioned with the People May Ask, where you go H1 by H1 answering all of those questions, you can then go a step further by creating individual blogs answering all of those questions and then internally linking them to each other. So you would end up with one long form piece of content that might be 5, 6, 7,000 words long, effectively an ebook that's published onto your site, boom, here, and then every single H2 can get linked to another smaller blog that might be a little bit more digestible, that is maybe somewhere between 1,200 to 2,000 words. This serves 2 audiences as well, an executive or decision maker might want that deep dive, or a senior manager might want that deep dive. Whereas somebody that's top of funnel just wants to know, okay, I need to know how to do technical SEO. How do I do this? They don't need to get bogged down with more information or distracted. As an example of this, I can relate it to one of Klover.ai's campaigns where we had a Hall of Legends, a Legends of AI blog series that was targeting specific names in the industry and ranking on page 1 for their name. So if you typed in something like Elon Musk, AI, Andrej Karpathy, AI, Anand Rao, AI, stuff like that, we would be ranking first for their name with the tag AI. So a really good example of this is a cluster that we did on Andrej Karpathy, who coined the term vibe coding. Thank you. What we realized was that we had actually pioneered or invented vibe coding about 3 years prior and had the receipts to prove it. So we waited for a conference that Andrej was going to be speaking at and went ahead and published an article that was just his name, ranked for it, Andrej Karpathy, and then the key term, Andrej Karpathy AI. Then we sprinkled in a lot of terms around vibe coding. Of course, this was effectively a blog thanking him for coming up with the term vibe coding. What we then did on top of that, after that started to rank, was we wrote a whole list of probably 6 or 7 different articles talking about Klover's history with vibe coding dating back 3.5 years when we first started doing this to build our agents. So we were able to piggyback off of the audience that was already looking for Andrej. And we're able to take that audience and then direct them to Klover's other sites that had nothing to do with Karpathy. Now, when you go ahead into ChatGPT or Perplexity or Google and you say who pioneered vibe coding, you don't see Karpathy's name. You see that he coined it, but you see that Klover are the ones that actually pioneered this. This gave us an insane amount of domain authority, trust, and then we started seeing a large uptick in the amount of pages that Google was actually servicing. All of this happened in days, not months, like most agencies will tell you. By building trust and associating our name and our accomplishments with other leaders in the industry, we started to piggyback off of their audiences. This wasn't something that was isolated to Karpathy. We went ahead and did this for 50 or 60 different leaders in the industry and directly tied their work to what we were doing at Klover. Again, building an association. You trust Elon Musk, most of us, so therefore you should trust Klover.ai. And we didn't just stop at their names. We started actually going after their companies. So we wrote 500 plus reports on the Fortune 500 companies talking about what their AI strategies were. So when you started to Google who wrote the best strategy on Tesla AI, or who wrote the best AI strategy for General Motors or PepsiCo. Actually, huge shout out to Dr. Athena Kaniora. She is the Chief Strategy and Transformation Officer at PepsiCo. We're starting to see this actually work because she absolutely loved our content and even shared it on our LinkedIn, which led to a surge of traffic coming into that piece specifically. We actually saw 900 times more organic traffic going to that Pepsi article than we did on other articles that were also performing in their own right, but for other Fortune 500 companies. This is the power of actually going directly to the top. And that's kind of the problem here, right? A lot of founders just want to sell to everyone. They think that every dollar is a good dollar, when in reality, you really want to just go figure out who your ICP is and only sell to that person. You don't need to sell to everybody that's at the top of the funnel or the people that are down here that are going to be nickel and diming you. Pick who you want to sell to. In our case, we want to sell to Fortune 500 enterprises and then reevaluate or revamp their whole AI strategy. So we started writing content that delivered value to them. Even if PepsiCo doesn't pay us, then they already can take value from this piece of content and at least give them the guardrails moving forward. Having it be so good that they are actually sharing this content is also just a kudos on our back. Like, hey, we actually wrote something that's meaningful and valuable to them. And it's giving us more domain authority. It's also giving us that sort of social network as well, that social virality. And here's a hint, not all backlinks are created equal. A comment is not a backlink. It's digital graffiti. What we actually did on the Klover blog was we disabled all contents. We don't really need to hear from anybody else. A, you can run into bad actors who are trying to install malicious code into your content, and then God forbid you miss it. And B, they're not the experts. You are. If they want to go ahead and comment or complain or add, any type of commentary, they can share the article on their LinkedIn, which is exactly what we got from Pepsi. Commentary needed to be had. They shared it on LinkedIn, and the post went mini viral. It's enticing our users and our readers to actually engage with us and build community. Focus on getting published on known outlets. And we learned this the hard way. So we've been published on outlets like IEEE, Forbes. We're on to our third Forbes article. And also, yes, well-known blogs like Medium and Substacks from CXOs of Fortune companies. That's all well and good. But what we've realized is that we get way more engagement, and we get way more traffic, and we get way more authority off of those Forbes articles. So that's where we focus. It is important that as you're starting to gain this traction, you reach out to other founders, you reach out to podcasts, and you use whoever is in your network that might have some clout or some audience to go ahead and act as a megaphone for what you are doing. We allowed our executive contributors to write guest posts, and we gave them the opportunity to interview for us one-on-one for their own content needs, but then we also interviewed them one-on-one for our content needs, getting out additional podcasts and additional blogs as well under their name. I can promise you, I see an over-reliance in the tech startup world on sales reps. Quick story, I was working for a frontline employee engagement startup. We were about $5 million a year, just hit our Series C funding. This was maybe 2.5 years ago. And over the last year that I was there, I watched them absolutely hemorrhage their funding round on, we had gone through 3 vice presidents of sales and too many sales reps to count. Realized until it was too late that it wasn't really a sales problem that we had. It was a churn problem, and we needed more product developers. But needless to say, what I witness all of the time is that CEOs, new founders, think that more sales reps are the answer to their revenue problems. Realistically, no. Sales is one-on-one. It takes a lot of time. You have people that are going out cold calling people, doing email outreach, spending time on product demos. Realistically, you can automate all of that by just having a proper marketing funnel. Marketing is sales at scale. Marketing is sales that is one to many. Realistically, you should only be having a sales rep close warm leads, not reach out to people that are cold saying, hey, we got this new product. Do you have some time to get on a demo? And, maybe chat, click. Nobody has time for that. If, on the contrary, if you're able to provide valuable content, do it often, get seen consistently, and then have that user continually be coming back to your site for value through your blogs and your videos and your product demos that you can just have, right? Like, why do you have your sales rep having the exact same half-an-hour product demo 14 times a day if their calendar is booked, when you could just post that product demo once on your homepage, and there you go. You save them all of that time. They can go focus on closing deals. So that means that the marketer's job is to drive as many people as possible to that page that has the demo on it. It's way better use of your time, way better use of your money. Just do that instead of giving somebody a list of 10,000 numbers that they need to go call. Sorry, I've been hurt by sales reps. I've been hurt by leadership that always chooses sales reps over marketing. And it's like, it's the least efficient mode that you can do to go get revenue. One thing that's really important, one thing that's really important here is hygiene. Sales, marketing, both of that, it's like dating. If you show up and you're a slob, then people are just going to leave. They're not going to give you any attention. It's the exact same thing when you're trying to present your website to Google. If you show up and everything is messy and you don't have any of your metadata filled out and you have no real H2s or H1s that are, have good keywords in them, then you're shit out of luck. Nobody's ever going to find you. If Google can't read your site, then you're not going to get ranked, period. And startups are really notorious for just slapping up a website and not looking at what the back end actually looks like. They don't name any of their images. They don't give it alt data. They don't give it, or alt text. They don't give it descriptions or captions. They don't even give their page metadata or meta descriptions, or they don't give their blogs tags or categories, right? Like, there's nothing worse than going, and I was guilty of this as well, but like, you'll go onto their blog and every single blog is uncategorized. It's like, okay, you're not telling me anything. Google is a lot more harsh with you about that than a user that found themselves onto your blog is going to be. Ways that you can fix this are by fixing your load time. So when I first built the Klover.ai website, nothing was compressed, and it would take 6-7 seconds to load the web page. And we ended up finding out after doing some analysis that within a 1 month period, we actually had 5,600 users bounce off the page before it even finished loading, which then triggered me to go, oh, I should probably go fix this. After we fixed it, that's when we start to see our session growth balloon, because effectively that's the first point of trust. If people come on and it's just a forever loading screen, and then if it does finally load and things just load in chunks, then hey, you didn't really take care of your website. Why do we expect you to take care of your product? Make sure that your high-res visuals are all compressed. Make sure that your loading time is typically under 3 seconds. People are incredibly impatient. Change and edit all of your metadata, so every single asset from your hero graphics to your blog thumbnails, what's given proper alt text, descriptive file names, structured metadata. This is all things that happen on the back end that Google reads. Your user is probably never going to see it unless they hover over the image, or if they do an inspect mode. It's also really good manners, because some people are visually impaired and they need screen readers. So if they get to an image and the screen reader reads IMG_0067Z, like, what does that tell them? And that person could be a client for you as well. So make sure that it is accessible to everybody, no matter their disability, their reading level, or anything like that. If you do these things, then you're going to be better off than 99% of other startups out here who just throw up a website all willy-nilly, say it's good enough, and then they go back to focusing on products, or they go back to trying to hire a legion of sales reps that are going to overpromise and underdeliver. Your webpage is your digital business card. Your blog is the heartbeat of your company. If somebody comes onto your blog and they see that you haven't posted in 3 or 4 weeks, or forbid, a few months, they're going to think that you're out of business, or they're going to think that you don't have anything valuable to share, that you don't have anything worth telling them about, that they should be excited about working with you. If this was helpful for you, please like, comment, subscribe, give me any feedback. I'm getting used to talking on camera, and my last video was outside, very windy. I didn't necessarily like that. I got some lights and some stuff now. I'm just sitting in my room. Happy to just sit here and kind of like have fireside chats with y'all and talk through what's top of mind for me on any given day. This is all coming off the back of a very successful run with Klover.ai. If there's anything else that you want to be reading or learning about, SaaS startups, how to manage, how an enterprise exec would think about marketing, then by all means go to the blog in my bio. I have a full library of over 100 long form pieces of content that are talking about how to build your sales funnel, why marketing is more important than sales, how to install chatbots, how to video edit, how to pretty much insert anything that you would need if you want to go ahead and self-teach. Otherwise, I will continue posting videos like this at a more frequent basis as I'm getting used to this. As this is a new channel, again, please give me any feedback at all. I hope that if you did make it to the end, it was useful for you, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.